Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, and then. I'm supposed to read that. Just read that first one, right?
Sure.
Okay, discuss, the first item on the agenda is discuss background check capabilities and options, consider an appropriate motion for action. Do we have, applications?
No, this is different. This is just.
Oh, that's the, yep, we were gonna use the police department, but then they were,
Well, I'm still using
You were
the
gonna
police department.
line somebody up here, right?
And I have an email. I gave you guys all an email
Yep.
for this current candidate that we have here.
Mhm.
You don't have to look at that right now, but, I also do a Department of Justice background check myself.
okay,
That's $7. The police department is not charging an extra fee per se to do those background checks. So
okay,
right now, your charge is $7 per person.
okay. And you guys just talked about that last one, right?
I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right, you weren't here either.
Right, what we had brought up during the meeting was the idea of, is it complete, cause there were some questions about some of the information that we had gotten on a couple of applications, and we thought, are there agencies out there that can actually perform that for us, so that it's, to take things off of her desk, so she doesn't have to deal with it, and also so that they can be guaranteed complete, so that they're not in, the biggest concern we had was, names. Some names are very like Mike Smith.
Oh, right.
There could be 12 Mike Smiths in the city of Milwaukee, and then if you don't have the exact date of birth, if you don't have the exact everything on that information when somebody's inputting it, it gives everybody's information, and so it makes it difficult to make those decisions.
Okay, well, I know there was a company in mind that was brought up, but we have to do some more research on that, cause obviously we don't wanna incur any more costs if we don't have to.
Of course, of course.
But we'll see, yeah, cause I mean, something to streamline, and obviously they would have to bless up on it, so. But we have a system in place right now that we'll use, so.
Okay. So you don't wanna make any motion on doing anything at this time?
No,
Are we still researching it?
yes,
Okay.
Oh, okay, so the research has not been done. Who's working on the research?
I had the information, but then I had an email that was not correct, so I didn't get a response,
Okay.
so I have to follow up with that. And
So
then,
we'll wanna add that again to the next agenda?
okay, yes.
Okay.
Alright, and then the next one was discuss Village of Waterford, Police Exploratory Committee, but if Zeke's coming, I think that was what he was gonna do, if I'm not mistaken.
I can tell you a little
Okay.
bit about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what Zeke had planned, but he asked me to come here, so.
Okay, well, yeah, you're,
I went to one, it's a group that, actually I appointed the members, one is an ex-police officer, one's a pastor in town, and 2 trustees. They have the last meeting that I went to, they had the schools all there, graded school, high school, basically touching base, finding out what the SRO does and that kind of thing. The prior meeting I wasn't at, I can't remember who they did, but they've been trying to reach out to all the stakeholders. The next meeting is businesses, stakeholders. Actually, yeah, I think the last meeting was DPW and fire. Yep. So just to kind of get a feeling in how they work with the current police and officers and that kind of thing, and how they work with the sheriff's department and kind of everybody's thoughts on it. We did send out a survey to the residents. I don't have it with me. I think Zeke might have it. We do have the results.
that was to like February 28th, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
So we do have the results back. The majority of the people want local policing.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I can kind of sum you up on things that I can remember from it. But be happy to get your copies and sure to be published once
Okay.
it's all,
Yeah, cause our concern was, obviously being a fire and police commission, and then the contract not being there anymore, that would come under us
Well,
as a committee?
yes and no.
Okay,
Right now, as long as there's a contract, it was a 6-month, they had to give us notice of we have 6 months past the notice time. Okay, so.
So we're
what
about 4 months into that now.
No, it was, I can look it up, I think it was in February.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna get into the details, but when we received it, shall I say.
Okay.
So, that, we plan on at least going to the 6-month, unless something drastic happens with the town, then we would have to make drastic measures also. From what I understand, the purview of this committee would be if we start our own department.
right,
Then
Okay.
you would be responsible for, you'd be a fire and police commission, not just a fire commission. The same duties, hiring, firing, and discipline. So that's, right now, there's been a few officers that have been working in the village for a while that work for the town police department. So obviously those would be our, I shouldn't say my, candidates if something really fell apart at the town. There's a lot of, I can tell you, I don't know what's happening at the town. There were the votes, some people say this vote didn't count, some people say this vote didn't count, no idea. So I'm just telling you, our end, we have police coverage. The officers are working every day. And Mike May was put in charge of the department yesterday, senior officer.
is there a, how do I say this, a model, like, and just correct me if I'm wrong, this is more of a learning curve for me, but like, when you have a village and a town, doesn't the village usually hold the primary police department and then people contract with the village, or is
Not
that?
necessarily.
Not necessarily, okay.
No, everything is different. We used to, I'll give you a little background, most of you know this, or some do, but we used to have a one officer, John Shanning.
Yeah.
And then the other contract was with the sheriff's department.
Okay,
When I got here, and before that, I think John Shanning was here a long time.
About 30, 40 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
something
And
like
we
that.
had more police officers, right?
We did?
With like an actual department.
Prior to John, in like the
I
80s,
don't know.
I think. In the 80s, I believe, but not recently.
That was before me, I didn't move out here till the 90s. But anyway, then we went and we contracted with the town police department, because they had a full-fledged police department. I can't remember how long that, it's been over 10 years ago, I think, right after I got on the board. So it only makes sense, it's not necessarily because they have a full-time, full-staff chief department. That's the reason why we went with them.
Now, is our model gonna be different than theirs, or essentially the same, only just 3 streets over?
To be determined.
Okay.
As far as our model, we don't even know if, that's why this committee was established, the Police Exploratory Committee. It's been thrown around to have a joint department. There's been some great examples out there of joint departments that I've received some information from them. Their bylaws and stuff like that, just as example. A joint department we've been talking about, and having our own department we've talked about, and the town handling policing, and we contract through them again. So I'll be honest with you, it'll probably be after the election before anything will be in the town specifically. I don't see any big, that's where we'll have to make our huge decision, which direction we need to start going.
And that's in April?
Yeah, after April, cause there's 3 board members in the town that wanna keep the police, and there's 2 that don't. So, I'm trying to say as much as.
Yeah.
I thought,
No,
that was already determined that they were gonna go with the Racine County Sheriff Department within 6 months and they were gonna disband, is that?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
There was a vote, but they have to approve a contract.
With the sheriff?
Yes, they have not approved a contract, they haven't even received a contract with the sheriffs. So you can draw your own conclusion if you got 3 people against and 2 for, if a contract's gonna get approved.
So they're waiting until the election to see.
Again, I'm just telling you my observations, I have no idea what
In
the
the
town's
meantime,
doing, but
I would agree with what he's saying from what I've watched too, is that it has to go to Racine County, their all that stuff, the finance committee, then the board actually has to sign the final contract.
Sure.
And if it stays the same, it's probably gonna be 3-2 against it. But if April 1st happens, when April 1st happens, it might be a complete change. So really, I don't think anything has changed right now with them. Because the board has not signed a final contract with them. And that probably won't happen until April 1st, when their elections are.
And when does the contract come up? When does it?
It depends on when the county can approve all of that
Well,
stuff and get it back to them.
what we're talking about is a new contract with the sheriff's
Yeah.
department.
Oh, yeah, I guess
They don't
I,
even have, the town, just from what I understand, so don't quote me on this, they haven't even determined the hours. I'm just telling you from what I read in the paper, the sheriff's department said that the town has determined the hours and stuff like that, so I'm just telling you what I read. So, I don't know where they stand, I know where we stand, we still got officers covering the village, we still got police service, and that's really the important part for me, is they're still fulfilling their contract, our SRO is still there, we still got those people in, and, I know the schools last week were very supportive of the existing SRO. I mean, Mike does a fantastic job. And they want that to stay in place. I think everybody does. So, right now, everything is kinda just wait and see and same old, same old. But yes, as a department, if, the way I understand it, and Zeke could probably explain it a lot better, as if we do decide, or the village board decides, shall I say, to start our own department, then it will be hiring, firing, discipline would be to you.
So when that time arises, will be included at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll all be, the paperwork has been, for our own department, there's been stuff in process.
that's the one thing I'm wondering about, cause I know that takes time.
No, that was done years ago for us.
Good. Okay.
Anticipating if we ever need it, put it that way. So, and we, again, we've had our own department before, so it's not or at least one officer.
Hatfields and the boys.
But, I can tell you personally, contracting sheriff with a 3rd shift has been a good experience also. So they do a good job handling the 3rd shift, and for what they do, they handle well. But so far everything is like the surveys look for local policing, which I'll give my opinion, I agree with the local policing, but I also agree with what we have now with the 3rd shift for the sheriff's department. They provide services that, you know, anyway.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
Um,
Zeke can tell you more of the legals and that's.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, we just wanna make sure that we know a way forward, because obviously but the next thing coming, the bylaws and stuff like that, if, you know, we'd have to do that with it. So, moving on to the next thing, update on village board lawyer and PSC lawyer bylaws related discussions. So, I know you guys have been, we want to create our own bylaws, but we ran into a problem with the way that the ordinances were written, and it's my understanding that the attorneys spoke to each other. And that,
Meaning the village attorney and our attorney
yes,
for the
for the
PFC?
commission, yes, that they spoke. I don't know where that's at, and maybe that's a Z question too, I don't know.
They didn't send a copy of the outline?
Mm. So, I don't know, so if he comes up, we'll ask him that then.
He said he was coming, he was gonna be late, he has,
Yeah, that's fine.
something.
But we all agree that if once, those bylaws are written, and these meetings will be a lot easier to manage, because, there's been some talk about what we talk about, is it necessary, is it not necessary, and we just wanna make sure, we're supporting the chief and the community the best way. So if writing those bylaws is helpful, we'll do it, and the attorney's willing to do that for us, so.
Do we have any kind of timeline or deadline for that? That would be,
Well, yeah, yesterday.
it seems like it's been
It keeps
several months
going
here.
on, yes, but I do have,
He's been working on it, I saw the
Yeah.
bills.
yeah, I know, and
Yeah,
that's the
they're
thing
good
too.
at that.
Yeah.
They're good at
And we
that.
really wanna get to a point where we only need them if necessary for disciplinary action or, questions, so that we don't have to incur too much cost. But yeah, once those bylaws are written, we'll be in good shape. Not to say we can't still do what we're doing. Okay, so then, I gotta consider a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, section 19.85I, C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any employee, public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. So that's really
Yes, I just need a motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second.